If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
This is episode 444 of Wheel Bearings. I am Sam Abul-Samad from Telemetry.
I am Nicole Wakeland from Test Miles.
I am Roberto Baldwin from SAE International and the SAE Automotive Engineering Podcast.
I'm going to be really curious to see how Riverside, the transcript, transcribes my last name today, because it always comes up, even though, my name is like on there, it knows that what words I said because it records each track separately.
Yes.
For some reason, it is completely useless when it comes to trying to transcribe my last name.
What's some fun things? Is like Abel Sandwich?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of weird shit.
Sam Abel Sandwich.
Anyway, as you can tell,
Abuela Ahmed.
While traveling through 6 different airports in 4 days and three major cities last week, I picked up something and so
Sam's got a sexy voice.
Yeah.
That's so we're late this week because Sam had no voice and he still has sexy Sam voice.
Sexy Sam voice.
Sexy Sam.
All
That
right,
should be the episode title.
Batman
Sexy
voice.
Sam.
But I did get lucky on my red-eye flight on Wednesday night from San Francisco to JFK. I got upgraded to Delta One on a 767,
nice.
so I at least got 4.5 hours of sleep.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
that's good.
something.
Yeah. So anyway, what have you been driving, Nicole?
I have been driving the Toyota Tundra Platinum TRD off-road. I wanted to get the right the right wording. I had to look. So this one sits, I guess, I would say at the top. It's the base Tundra. There's so many trims of this. The base Tundra is the SR. It's 41,260. The top
Isn't the capstone the top one?
Capstone. The capstone
That's
is
the one I had last time.
80,800. The TRD Pro. It doesn't. I didn't have a Monroney, so I'm looking at the list. Is 72,565. So you're basically looking at a $70,000 ish truck. The way I was driving it,
That's a lot for a truck.
it's a lot for a truck. So I mean, it's a great truck. It's powerful. It was fun to drive. It actually handled really well. I had to drive it into Boston twice, and this is the worst time of year in New England because the potholes are all there and they haven't fixed anything yet. I mean, they won't ever fix them all. It'll always be potholes. It's just like peak pothole season right now. So you're hitting potholes. Like the road's a mess from the frost heaves. It's bad conditions to drive a truck that does not have anything in it because the bounce factor of a truck with no load in the bed is like amplified by like 10 times on these roads. And especially can get disconcerting in driving through cities because it's narrow. So if you're, say, I don't know, coming in on it, in one of the, like through the tunnel or something where it always feels you don't have room to begin with, and then you hit a pothole and you bounce, you're like, there's nowhere to bounce. So it's a little disconcerting. But this was actually pretty nice to drive in, considering this the off-road, and it has like an off-road suspension and skid plates and all-terrain tires and all these things that should make it even more less well-mannered, I guess, on the road. It did surprisingly well. I enjoyed driving around. It was plenty roomy. It has a nice interior. It has that sort of, it does a good balance between, in terms of truck styling. They can get so rugged. Sometimes you're like, okay, cool your jets, gentlemen. It's just a truck. And this one does a good balance of having a certain amount of ruggedness to it. It's everything's easy. The knobs are easy to grab without getting so far over the top that you're kind of like, it's stupid. Like when you look at how they can get a little carried away. What's the
there's too many things.
The The King Ranch, is that the one from Ford that has a little, excuse me, it looks like a W. But everything is like leather, like you're a cowboy all of a sudden. You're like, what has happened? Like,
Well,
like
you're the supervisor of the cowboy.
right? But
Yeah.
like suddenly cowboy boots appear on your feet and a hat just shows up on your head and you don't know how it got there. Like sometimes they get a little overdone on the trucks and they do it with trims that they're trying to make look fancy, like they're like you're out in your ranch, or trims that are off-road. And I think this one
Texas
did a
is
nice
the biggest
balance.
market for these things.
It is, but still, like somehow when I get in a truck and like I said, I feel like my feet just poof, get cowboy boots and a hat shows up on my head. That's too much cowboy in my truck, too much cowboy styling. So, but I think this one does a nice balance with its off-roadness, and it has things, it has USB-C ports, and it has the tech and stuff that you want to make it still feel like it's upscale. I think the standard screen is just an 8-inch, but then it goes to 14-inch on higher trims, which is what I have. And there's a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster. So you also get an instrument cluster that's nice and big. So it feels tech forward. I like how this truck is designed. I feel like it's a little expensive for that pricing. It's a little high. So I think you really have to want the Toyota Tundra, like, the truck wars that between the F-150 and the Chevy Silverado and Ram and everything. If I was going to get a Toyota truck, I'd want the Taco. If I was getting a little truck, I'd do that. But for a big truck, I don't know if I'd go Toyota. I don't know. Not because I dislike it, but I don't know that the dollars balances out with all the capability and everything. What do you think? Are
you getting enough bang for your buck compared to the competition?
Exactly. Like, I feel like I can get more bang for my buck. Thank you. He's like, poor Sam, desperately trying not to talk because he has no voice. But yeah, you get more bang for your buck with a competition. So I feel like you could go with other brands that deliver similar, even with off-road capability to what you can get in the TRD Pro, but that the pricing makes more sense. Not that they're cheap, because every OEM has prices that are just, you can go bonkers with what you spend on trucks. So in that regard, they're right in line. I just like that. I think some trucks have a better balance. The price matches a little bit better, but overall, I like this. I thought it was a good truck. I enjoyed it. Had a good time driving it. Didn't have to drive it through snow, which was nice for a change. We didn't have 1.5 feet of snow like the Midwest, or 2 feet or 3 feet, I guess it was, depending on where you poor people lived.
We've only gotten a little dusting around here. But up north, they've got like 2 to 3 feet of snow in northern, lower peninsula and upper peninsula of Michigan.
In Wisconsin, my poor child said, I'm getting 2.5 feet of snow is what they told her. And she ended up with about 1 foot, which is still a lot considering that she doesn't have a snowblower. So she had to go out there and shovel. I'm like, you're young. You're fine.
It was like 65, 70 degrees here. So.
Well, it was just so you know, Bragger McBraggerson, it was 62 degrees in New Hampshire yesterday. I mean, it's like 30 now and windy, but we saw 60 yesterday.
It was 68 here on Sunday.
Yeah.
I was out playing with the dogs in the yard.
I think it's going to be 85 or 90. It is way too hot. It should not be hot.
Not be this warm.
It's more terrifying than
terrifying.
It's going to be 87 today. It's mid-March. That's too hot for mid-March. It's terrifying. It really is. You're like, oh, it's nice. You go outside. It's a nice day, and then suddenly you realize, oh, this is there goes the snowpack. There goes that.
I don't know if I said this last week, but I saw a thing where someone called this season wrong coat season. No matter what coat you pick, it's the wrong coat. Because wrong coat like we have reached wrong coat season. Because it's either, that should have had a warmer coat today. Shoot, I should have had a cooler coat today. So we're in the thick of it.
I'm curious, what kind of fuel economy did you get with the Sequoia?
I don't know. I wasn't driving a Sequoia.
Oh, Tundra.
Sorry.
Actually, you know what? I didn't check the fuel economy. Totally honest. I just completely didn't check it. I'm betting. But from what I've gathered, it's a little low for what it's rated. From what I've heard, not my personal numbers, but everybody who has gone and really tried to. The people I know who very diligently measured fuel economy, that are really not even letting the car figure it out, that are like trying to figure it out themselves. They've said that it's not quite making what it's supposed to.
Yeah.
It's a little disappointing.
Whenever I drive a Tundra or Sequoia, it always comes up short of the of the official EPA numbers.
Is it by a lot or by a smidge? I'm going to look up the EPA numbers on that.
Usually by a couple of miles per gallon at least.
So a lot.
Yeah, like I had, just over 17 with the Sequoia last week, and it's rated at 20 combined.
I'm looking to see if I can find the TRD perf. That one is 17, combined is only 19. It's not very high to begin with. I mean, I'm looking at all of the Toyota Tundra, and because the two-wheel drive, the four-wheel drive, there's all these configuration trucks give you, I think there's 8 different possible fuel economy figures, maybe more on here. And basically the combined is about 19. A couple of them are a little bit higher in the two-wheel drive that aren't four-wheel drive. But yeah, 19. If you have 19 combined and your number goes down, that's not really, 19 wasn't a great number to begin with.
That's not great.
But yeah, so that was the oldie Toyota Tundra, which has gone back because it's Tuesday. It's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And neither one of you is wearing green.
I'm not
Irish. Not Irish.
But do you celebrate things? You're not pagan, I bet, and you celebrate Halloween.
I live with my wife is Irish from Ireland. She doesn't wear green.
Well, I'm wearing green. I am wearing green. I'm just holding it to see my little green plaid. I had
I'm looking. Oh, here's a green bottle top.
Okay, I guess
it would be green if it wasn't on a green.
If it
screen.
wasn't doing the thing, it turned into green screen when he held it up. We have so the coolest thing I'm having after the show, because we're recording this at 4:00 Eastern. I got a pretzel shaped like a shamrock. It's this.
Wow.
It's from a pretzel company in Milwaukee, and they ship them to you fresh. So after the show, I'm going to put my giant pretzel in the oven, and we're going to have a pretzel with some beer cheese and a green cocktail. It's actually called a Shamrock Shake Martini, in case you're wondering. It's quite tasty.
Most of the people I know who are from Ireland are completely confused by the U.S.
Oh, yeah, they totally are. Yeah. They don't celebrate it half as big as we do.
What are you talking about?
No.
What? You're doing what?
There's a comedian I've just forgotten.
Why does Chicago tint their river green,
Well, he makes fun of that even. He's like, poor fish are probably man, I don't know what I had last night, but the world's
the
crazy.
guy on TikTok or on Instagram.
Is it Garen? Garen Noon, I think it is.
He is delightful.
He was making fun of how ridiculous our St. Patrick's Day celebrations are again, and that was when I found him last year when he was talking about the floats, and there was this giant float that was St. Patrick, and it was creepy. Sometimes floats with people are cute, and other times you're like, oh, it's like the uncanny valley of floats. And he's like, oh my gosh, if I saw that when I walked out of the bar, I'd bleep my pants. So he was at it again, joking that we do more than they do.
Anything else on the Tundra?
No, that's it. That's it on the Tundra. It was great. It was lovely. It was nice to drive, really well mannered for an off-road truck. It was very impressive on-road. So if you're going off-road, great. But if you have to drive it on-road too a lot, I would say this is a nice one to pick because it actually was pleasant on-road and didn't feel like it was bouncing out of control over every bump in the road.
Well, I need to get myself scheduled into a pickup soon to take all the brush that has fallen down in the last week from these windstorms and haul it out to the compost site.
We'll have to. And you'll need mulch. So make sure you
I
get
need
some
that
of
too.
up,
So.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to get the mulch.
Yeah. All right, Robbie.
So I drove something very odd, and yeah. So it's a resto mod, an EV resto mod. So they took an old Land Rover, and then they made it. It's the Land Rover Electric Series 2A is what they call it. It's by a company called Everrati. So they had me go down to a local sort of high-end dealership. It's called Issimi. Issimi. Anyway, the guy there, Christian, he was great. So him and I jumped in this car, and I was only supposed to have it for an hour. We just drove for two hours. And these old Land Rovers you see, in the UK, it's essentially one of those, which means it is restored. It's beautiful. It's everything is the way it should be. Obviously the dials are different because it's an EV. They put like a little stereotype thing in there, but there's no like screen. It doesn't have like CarPlay or any of that stuff.
It looks much better than it did when it came out of the factory in England.
It does. It does look better, and actually the electronics, I'm sure, are much better. So I drove this, and it was fantastic. The steering, it had about 5 degrees of play.
Only 5?
At the very least, 5 degrees. So like every time you had to do something, it was like, whoa. Like a lot of hand over hand steering, like around corner, like around just, I'm taking a right turn at a red. I'm like, whoa, yeah, at an intersection. Trying to park it was really fun. I'm like, I overshot it. But having said all that, and the seat it's essentially just like fixed. Like that's because that's how the car came out of the factory, because I guess the British don't realize that people are different sizes. So I was a little too short, so it was like kind of awkward for my legs. But having said that, it was really fun to drive. The brakes, you put on the brakes and you're just like, oh, hope we stop. It's better than the original, but it's still a lot to bring this thing to stop. Having said all that, I adored this thing. I had so much fun driving it around. It does 0 to 60 in under 15 seconds.
Ooh.
Not that we ever really got, I think maybe we got to 60 once. The car, it cruises really well at around 50, 55. We never went on the freeway because I didn't want to die. It has
good call.
It has a range of up to 150 miles, which is pretty good for a resto mod, to be honest. Let's see, how big is the battery? I can tell you that. Boop, boop, boop. Maybe scroll down. It has a 55 kilowatt hour battery pack, so yeah, that's fine. It has
that's good for what, about 55 miles of range?
No, it's a 150, up to 150. We drove it, I don't know how long, 2 hours. It is 215 brake horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. It's a 400 volt system. It's a resto mod. I don't know. If you're making 800 volt resto mods, whew, those are expensive. It'll charge at CCS charging 70 kilowatts, AC charging 6.6 kilowatts. This is not your daily driver, unless your daily driver is just cruising around and making people jealous of you and your cool green car. I'm going to drop a picture. And how do I drop a picture? Hold on, I got some picture. I'm going to send you guys a picture of it, so you can also be impressed by how rad my day was. Yeah, no, I had a great time with it. No, can't do it like that. And it's very, very expensive. I don't know how expensive.
That's how expensive it is if you have
That's
to
how expensive it is. It is very expensive. All these sort of resto mods, because they do a lot to recreate the vehicle as it was originally. So you have that already going for it. And when you have that happening, that's when you know that things are going to be really, really, really pricey. Because if you just get a resto, if you just have someone who gets one of these cars and restores it, it's already, first of all, the car's already really expensive. Yeah. So you got that. And now you're going to have someone who's going to, oh gosh, what do I do? How do I do this?
You're having troubles, Robbie?
I am having troubles. Forget it. It's already expensive. This vehicle's already expensive because it's old. It's, not very many left. It's in demand. Now someone has taken it and they've restored it. So now it's already now you've gotten already, super expensive. Now someone's taken the engine, the transmissions, taken everything out and replaced it with electric motors, batteries. It has 3 gears: reverse, neutral, and drive. And it still has the original shifter. This tall shifter. It has low gears. It's got a little e-brake. It's got all the things that you want from this car. It's got the tire on top of the hood. It's got everything. The issue is that having everything means being very, very expensive. And so that's where it comes down to. That said, I had a great time. If I were maybe super rich, I might get one of these. I like getting these. It feels like I'm going to go solve crimes on the moors in the UK.
Solve crimes on the moors.
So
okay. Do you also get like a little hat and like a pipe? Like
You get like a tweed jacket and
yeah. Okay, cool. At least
a
the tweed jacket,
deerstalker hat.
definitely.
and
Yeah.
a deerstalker hat.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, it was I had it was a really nice time. I had a good time driving an old car that was really hard to drive. Didn't brake very well, didn't steer very well. But that's exactly what that car did when it has all disc brakes, so the brakes have been upgraded. But you're like, whoa. It is not made to go over 50 miles an hour. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And to be honest, the original car wasn't made to go over 50. It's made to go over 20 kilometers an hour around windy roads and then up a hill while chasing a fox, I suppose. So yeah, Everrati Land Rover Series 2A.
Yeah, sure. I mean, these guys they do resto mods of several different vehicles. They do Porsche 911s, Mercedes SL Pagodas, and GT40s, and classic minis. So, yeah, like you say, the price is POA, I guess, price on I guess on arrival, or
I guess it's whenever you.
I mean, they're all custom built anyway, so it
Yeah.
depends what options you want, what colors and everything.
Yeah, I think I don't care about the Porsche, to be honest, because there's a billion Porsches, there's a billion things. I do like the idea of a Pagoda.
Yeah,
An EV Pagoda sounds fantastic. I actually would probably pick the Pagoda over the Land Rover just because it's a Pagoda. And it's a convertible, but at the same time you could take the cloth top off the Land Rover and you could take a lot more friends around. Like, jump in the back of my Land Rover. We're going slowly to a place.
But we're having fun with it.
We're going to have the best time. Or you could just build your own. Find an old car. There's a Land Cruiser that I drive by all the time from like the 70s that's just sitting in a spot for the last 10 years. And one day I'm just going to be like, hey, I'll give you $500 and see if they won't take it, but it'd be fun. It'd be funny if they did. So that's what I drove this week. I drove a very expensive car that there's probably like 3 of them in the world because they're all custom built. And Everrati Land Rover Classic. Good times.
Excellent.
Lots of fun. I love driving old cars that'll just kill you.
You'll die, but you'll have such a good time when it happens.
They're not fast. They're not fast like compared to like, today's cars, but they have all these like little weird, it's just to me there's something just utterly delightful about a really old car. Even if it's a gas car. I remember when I drove the Silver Pig, which is the red pig replica that Mercedes built up. It just smelled like the 70s. It just, because it's the gasoline and everything.
Those cars do have a certain smell to them. Like, you get
do.
into those old cars, there's definitely, what is it? I think, is it all that like toxic chemicals they use to make?
It's just that the seals aren't very good on any of those cars. So you all the oils that are in the car, the gasoline,
like
the oil, everything.
You smell everything.
It's all of it's just leaking out all over the place.
Take a good inhalation of all that stuff.
I can feel the cancer growing in my lungs right now. So. Yeah, the EVs don't have that, which is nice. They also don't break down. I mean, if I had ultimate money, and I could buy the EV version or the gas version of this Land Cruiser, I would get the EV version. Okay. I just don't have the time to work on a British car with a million electrical issues. Not the mechanics. The mechanics are like, okay, that's fine. It's pretty simple mechanics. The electrical issues just feel like they would kill me.
Yeah, they drive you nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam, you're on mute.
Sam doesn't have... Oh, he lost his voice.
Not that a standard Land Rover of that era would have great electricals to begin with.
Yeah, it would just be, they rip all that out. That's the best part about this. I mean, it's great that it's an EV, so you don't have to worry about the mechanics, but the fact that you get rid of all the electronics and put in, like, real electronics, that's the best.
There's a world of opportunity out there, beyond the typical 9-to-5, where purpose and grit come together, where the American spirit and ingenuity are welcomed, in places that could really use your skills and your experience. We're talking about the Peace Corps, with volunteers living and working in communities around the globe. It's been called the toughest job you'll ever love. Tough because it asks so much of you. To dig deeper, to get your hands dirty, to go that extra mile, to rise to the occasion, and meet challenges head on. And the love part comes from being something bigger than yourself, from building bonds that last a lifetime. It's knowing your hard work transformed lives, including your own. After 65 years, the Peace Corps is still the toughest job you'll ever love. Explore opportunities in more than 60 countries, learn about benefits, and apply at peacecorps.gov/serve.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Aire Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media.
All right. Well, I had the 2026 Mazda CX-30S Aire Edition. So the Aire Editions, and that's AIRE with an E. So that's a new trim that they've added for 2026 on some of the Mazda models, which is basically like Toyota's Nightspeed and various others. It's basically the black trim package. So you get black wheels, black grille, all that stuff. Yeah. The CX-30S Aire, that has the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter. You can also get the Aire Edition on the turbo, but the naturally aspirated is 187 horsepower, and it's more than adequate. It's quick enough. It's a very nice little package. I'm a fan of the CX-30. I'm generally not a fan of crossovers, but as crossovers go, I like the CX-30. This is in fact, not the Aire Edition, but CX-30 is what my daughter bought a couple of years ago in Denver, because it's got just enough extra ground clearance compared to her old Toyota 86 that it was actually usable in winter, and it's a nice size. Backseat is a little on the snug size. When I put the driver's seat for my position, it's a tight squeeze in there for my knees, but I can get in there. This is more a car for either, younger folks that don't have any kids or empty nesters, that want something with a little extra utility, but still has that Mazda fun to drive character to it. It's a hoot to drive. The handling is really good. The CX-30S Aire Edition has cloth seats, which I thought were really cool. It's a combination of gray, sort of a medium gray and black fabric seats that look really nice, along with the rest of the interior, which even on this trim level still comes across really well. For the one that I had, it was the CX-30 Aire Edition starts at $29,850. So all the CX-30s come standard with all-wheel drive, and they start at like $26,000 for the base trim. The one I had was in the deep crystal blue mica, so it was not the red, the classic Mazda red, but it's still, it is the other really good color that Mazda has. They also have some grays and blacks and whites, which are kind of boring on this. But this deep crystal blue mica looks really good in the sun as well. Not as good as Soul Crystal Red, but it's the next best color.
Oh, it's pretty. I just looked it up. Deep crystal blue mica.
Yeah.
It's described when I Googled it, AI says, a sophisticated dark blue paint option available on many Mazda vehicles.
Yeah.
Sophisticated. It's sophisticated, Sam.
Sophisticated. Yeah. It's a good color.
Yeah. It is actually pretty. I would still have to go with the red because it's a Mazda. But
but if for some reason you have an aversion to red and you want something different that is not boring, the deep crystal blue is an excellent second choice.
That would work. Yes.
So as I said, it's a fun little car to drive. It's basically, a Mazda 3 that's a little bit taller, a little bit shorter overall. So it has a little bit less rear leg room, rear room than the 3, but still a very nice little car.
Oh, poor Sam, you guys. He's like trying to do this and he's coughing. He's muting himself. Sam's not going to make it. He's that dedicated.
But, I think with the all-wheel drive standard, it's good if you live in cold weather climates. It's rated at 24 city, 31 highway, 27 combined. I got about 28.5 with it, which is pretty good. And the total bottom line price was $32,538. You want to guess at the destination charge?
$1,295.
$15.
It was $14.95.
Yeah.
So Robbie was only $5 off.
$5.
Wow. Nicely done.
Look how excited I am for people getting fleeced for their destination charges.
They're not getting quite as fleeced as they would on a lot of other new cars.
That's true. It's still over $1,000 is ridiculous.
It is, especially on a small car like this.
Yeah.
So that is the 2026 Mazda CX-30S Aire Edition. So let us move on. Nicole, you and I were both in Santa Barbara last Tuesday.
We were.
So why don't you share with us your thoughts, and I'll maybe occasionally chime in with my thoughts.
You're gonna suck on a cough drop and
take
the
2027 Kia Telluride.
Okay, and this is where Sam mutes himself and starts coughing and has a sip of water while I talk. You're not muted. We can all hear you coughing. You didn't hit the button. Okay, are you muted now? Yeah, okay, we got you. Okay, now he's muted. The 27 Kia Telluride. So this is the first time, Telluride came out, 18. So this
19.
is the 19, the second generation. So this is a big deal because when Telluride first came out, it was so well received. Everybody loved it. It's a big deal for Kia. So you have that sort of, all right, can you live up to what you did the first time? Can you make it just as good as you did the first time? And they made it better. So the big news is that they put in a hybrid engine. So now you have a hybrid. It's got 329 horsepower, 339 pound-feet of torque. And it's actually really nice to drive. The Kia estimated fuel economy is 35 miles per gallon combined, unless they've just come out with it. We didn't have EPA official figures.
That's for the front-wheel drive one.
The front-wheel drive EX trim. So for all-wheel drive versions, it'll be about 31, I believe is what they had said. Yeah. So, which is still decent. This is a big vehicle. And they had the interior, they did really cool stuff. The interior looks really good. And what was this color? Sam, you were there too. It's sort of this, they called it it was like this.
Blackberry and some kind of beige, I think.
So what it is, and it's not reddish. It really is this very dark, sort of slightly reddish dark color. It's you don't even necessarily think red when you look at it. Makes me think of black cherry. Black cherry is so dark you don't really realize that there's any red in there. And it's suede all over the place. There's suede headliner, there's suede on this, on the across the shoulder portion of the seats and the headrest. So it really looks beautiful, very comfortable. Really liked driving it. Had tons of power. We floored it a couple of times to see okay, really, will it move? And it does. Now, we drove the hybrid on highway driving, and it was lovely. For the gas vehicle, that's what they let us take off-road. So we had a very short drive in that comparatively. It was just an off-road drive on this ranch. And they did this is for the X Pro, and they did make a decent little off-road course. Like, a lot of it was up and down hills. It was kind of wet grass in certain spots. There's a little bit of mud. We drove up, I don't want to say up a river, up a small creek, I guess I would say. Sam, did you guys drive up the little creek? Like it was definitely flowing water. It wasn't like it was 4 feet deep or something.
Yeah, it was probably about 7 or 8 inches deep.
Yeah, so we drove up this, and it's just like a rocky creek bed underneath it, which is a slick surface, and it handles it just fine. It was, this is like not. What's the phrase they say now? Soft roading. You're not going to necessarily want to go off-roading the way you would in something that was super, super capable, that was, had all the, lockers and a million things, and like a Wrangler or something like that. Like, it's not that car. But if you're someone who likes to get out there a little bit, to a trailhead, to, you go someplace where you go fishing, or you put your kayak in the river or whatever, you can do off-roading. Or even if you just live someplace where it's a little bit more rural, where you have like dirt roads, which doesn't sound like that should be that big of a deal. But if you have a dirt road, or you travel them a lot, when the weather's bad, like rain, it can make those roads miserable to drive on. If you're in a sedan, suddenly you get a little nervous. So it's a soft roading vehicle. I really enjoyed it. Oh, and it also, for towing, 5,000 on the gas, 4,500 on the hybrid. So you lose a little bit on the hybrid. Again, that's not unusual either. I thought they did a really good job with this. I think it's a worthy successor to the original Telluride in terms of style. The only thing the style in the front, it's all vertical lights in the front. So, and Kia's made a big deal. Their star map lighting is what they call it. This is very distinctive lighting signature, because that's one of the easiest ways for an automaker to make themselves sort of recognized. They have unique lighting, especially at night. Boom, you know what car company it is. And they have this star map lighting, the very vertical lights in the front. They're very vertical. It's a little bit, I don't know, Sam, if you can talk for a moment, what do you think about the lighting in the front?
It's it's an acquired taste.
There you go.
I actually kind of like it.
You do.
It's distinctive. Especially I actually preferred the version that was on the Pro X or X Pro. X Pro.
X Pro, yeah.
Yeah. Because what they do is they have basically 2 sets of trim levels. They have the core trims and their X trims or off-road trims. And on the core trims, the grill is flatter, and then as you go up on the trim levels, so you've got these 2 vertical, the daytime running lights are these 2 vertical stacks that are amber colored, and then just inboard of that, you have a set of vertical lamps for your headlamps that when they're off, you don't even really see them. When you turn them on, you can see them there, and then inboard of that, on the one that we drove, the SX Prestige, they've got 3 like body colored stripes against. So the grill is black, and then you get 3 body colored stripes. In this case, it was the ivory gray or ivory white color that they had. And then on the off-road versions, they have more of a blocky, chunky kind of thing. To me, it actually reminded me a lot of the Ioniq 5 XRT. That same kind of blocky kind of grill texture to it.
Okay.
And then the other thing that you didn't mention about the X Pro is that it compared to the XRT Pro Palisade, which shares the same platform, the Telluride X Pro actually has about 3/4 of an inch more ground clearance. So they actually give it a slight lift. So both wheels and also suspension lift compared to the other trim levels. So you got 9.1 inches of ground clearance compared to 8.4 on the other trims. So that gives it a little bit more clearance. You can also get it. There's an available skid plate that goes under the powertrain. That's a dealer installed option. They didn't have pricing on that. I think it's a few $100 for that.
No. Yeah, and it wasn't part of the X Pro. Like you could just get it put on. So the X Pro doesn't come with that skid plate, but it is a dealer installed thing. So you still get an official, Kia thing.
So it was actually pretty good off road. I was impressed with it. And that interior color on the SX Prestige we drove was blackberry and sand beige syntax. So you've got, the upper portions of the seats are this blackberry, as well as the headliner and parts of the doors, and then the lower portions are the sand beige, which is sort of a ever so slightly brownish beige color.
It looks really good. I loved how they did the interior. That color, they were very excited about it. And it looked good. You hear the name, you're like, blackberry. Like, what am I getting into? but it doesn't, it's, I don't know, it's a cute name, but yeah, it doesn't look as, somehow I thought that would be more striking.
Well,
like
it depends on the light, how the light hits it. When you're out in bright sunlight, it does look a little more red. It has a little bit more red to it. Yeah.
Okay. Because I guess it was very overcast, I guess, or we had a lot of, and I just don't remember it seeming bright, but
after lunch, after Perry and I were heading back, it got a little sunnier for a while.
Gotcha.
And we stopped to take some photos of it, and it definitely looked a little slightly, I mean, it's still a very dark red, but you can see a little more of the red in bright light.
Okay, so there you go. Well, like paints that are metallic, they change their color.
Yeah. So, so I like the X Pro or Pro X, or whatever the heck trim it was called.
X Pro.
X Pro, yes. Because you got XRT Pro for Hyundai and Pro 4X for Nissan and X Pro for Kia. It's like, come on, guys. This hurts too much. Hurts my brain.
Oh yeah, I always and they also have X Line and X Pro, and they're not quite the same at Kia. And then it's like, wait, X Pro's the X-ier one than the X Line is.
Right.
It's not. So it gets confusing. It gets very confusing very quickly.
But the base trim starts at $39,190. The hybrid doesn't come in the EX trim. I think the lowest trim for the hybrid is the the EX. It does come in EX. The LX is what's
Gotcha.
Missing from the hybrid. That's the one that starts at just under $40,000. So $46,490 for the EX. The SX Prestige was $56,590 with some options on it. Ours was like right around $60,000, including the delivery charge.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a solid. I think people are going to like it. I think people are going to be pleased with it. I think the hybrid is a big deal. That they did that is a very good thing. It was a moment to do it. Like, good call on that.
All right. So can you say your name and your title for me?
Yeah, my name's Kurt Kahl. I'm chief designer at Kia Design Center in Aire.
And you designed not just this Telluride, but the previous generation too.
Yeah, our team worked on both versions of Telluride.
And what was, if you had to pick something and say, was your biggest challenge, taking what you had to what you have?
Biggest challenge. Maybe it was a challenge, I guess, but it was also, we felt like it was a really great opportunity because I think we felt like we came up with an interesting formula that really responded to the customer in the first Telluride, that big, bold, and boxy, authentic SUV kind of feeling. So we also had Opposites United, our new design philosophy, come in after the first one was done. So we could integrate that and also really delve again into this boxy, functional, tough, rugged kind of SUV shape. And incorporate the Opposites United, these contrasting foreign elements. You can see the fender and the body side. And if you like distill and also exaggerate all the aspects that we think Telluride stands for.
So one of the things that I associate very much with Kia now is that the star mouth, the lighting things that you do in the front, and they're all a little bit different, but you can see how they're all sort of connected.
Yeah.
This one has the lights, the other side, very vertical.
Right.
How did you come upon that? Because that is very different.
Yeah, so it's an interesting story because the first Telluride has the strong tail lamp shapes, the two stripes. So you remember from the initial Telluride had a square DRL, like a rectangular DRL. And then for the facelift, the PE, we had two vertical elements that started to tie into the rear fairing. And on this one, the lighting technologies moved on. We have great packaging for what we can do with the actual projector lamp and how we can showcase the DRL. So we really wanted the two strong vertical strikes to be in on that works around the vehicle. So that's why in the back, they're actually separated from body colors. So you see a really strong, whether it's on or off, really strong twin bar vertical tail lamp, and now headlight as well.
And making the changes between these. So you can still see it's Telluride. It looks like an updated Telluride. It was so well received the first time around. How nervous, how scary is it to take something that people really, really, really liked and think, I gotta change this, but I can't mess it up?
Yeah, I think once again, I don't think we thought of it as scary, but like an opportunity, like exciting. Because we had, like you said, we had this kind of strong theme to play off of. And it was just a new way, a more modern way to interpret that theme. So I think the team was all really excited. And early on, the designers are sketching, and you see something that, that could be, a great direction. And it was a really strong initial theme sketch. So it was exciting to realize that into full size sculpture.
And you were talking about on the fender flare, some little tiny, little black little tab. Oh, tell me more about that, because I find that kind of neat. It's literally just decorative. There's no functional part of it. What does that do? Why you? What did that?
Well, maybe I was mentioning before, we had the very angular geometric fender shapes that almost come down to a point. The opposites united. Of course, we have opposing elements, but they still need to work together. So obviously, we have a round wheel arch, a round cladding, but then we have these two angles coming together and coming to a point. Maybe at various stages we had a point, and it just didn't feel natural. We kind of wanted more of a landing area, and that gave an area also to put this kind of a tab that is a geometric block on top of the round wheel cladding. And as the lead designer on the project has described too, it's almost like a clasp or like an attachment point. So it kind of lifts the feeling of the fender, because we have these downward elements. It kind of lifts it again. So it's kind of a play of geometry and shapes, and it felt right.
Is there any one thing that you look at all the different design decisions you've had to make when you did this, that you look at it and you say, I love that. That's my favorite thing. I'm so glad we did that.
Yeah, it's something that I just saw the other day, actually, because I was seeing the matte terrain ground like we have outside driving, and I was kind of the high angle, and I saw the really sharp fender lines, and then counterbalanced with the sharp edges coming off the rocker. And just those lines and the crispness and the kind of pure geometry and the way it blends into the body side, that's my favorite part.
That's your favorite part.
It was really difficult to execute some of that sculpting where you have a edge that just dissolves into a smooth shape.
Yeah.
But I think the way the modeling team executed that, and then with the amount of feasibility with the stamping, all that came together. I'm proud.
And so when someone looks at the new Telluride, customer sees it a lot, customer sees it at the grocery store, what do you hope their first impression is when they see this now?
Well, I think it has this rugged, almost imposing nature, but at the same time, it has this refinement and this luxury feeling. And I think that it communicates itself through the sculpting, like I'm talking about, but also it has even more presence in its boldness and its more upright nature. So I think it's like a powerful feeling SUV for the customer, feeling protected. At the same time, it has this luxury, cozy, inviting feeling, especially in the cabin when you get in. It's very spacious, but it's very comfortable.
Excellent. Did you do the interior too, or were you exterior guys?
So done both.
Yeah.
Now, as my current role, I'm responsible for exterior, interior, and CMF. So I did the interior way back in the early start of my career, a little bit, mainly exterior through the years, and then now, interior as well.
So you do the interior and Telluride then too?
So
Telluride just outside. Yeah.
Our team in Irvine at Kia Design Center America did the exterior, and the team in Korea did the interior.
Gotcha. So spread out across the world.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But we all work together. So, at some point, the designers in Korea and we work together to realize all the feasibility.
Does that get to be a challenge? Because at some point, they're in Korea and you're here, and you're trying to do something. Do you travel a lot, or are you back and forth a lot?
Yeah, and sometimes, we work together. Designers come here, we go there. So it's all a big collaborative effort.
Excellent. Thank you.
It's great that way. So.
Yeah, it came out great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and one interesting detail that currently is different between the Palisade and the Telluride. The Palisade base engine is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6, and then you have the same hybrid system that's on the Telluride. But the Telluride base engine is a 2.5 liter turbo, 4-cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out now that I guess for model year 27, they're dropping the V6 from the Palisade and switching to that turbo 4-cylinder. They haven't announced it here in North America yet, but they just announced it yesterday in South Korea. So starting like any time now, they're going to switch over from 26 to 27 model year for Palisade, and they will be dropping the V6 in favor of the Turbo 4. So you have the same engines again in both vehicles.
Cool.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
Mentioning the Palisade, do we have the Palisade in here for other news?
That was the only thing I had on the Palisade.
Well, I'm going to mention
Okay.
the other piece
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
go ahead and talk
Palisade
about
that I
that.
wanted to
Yeah.
mention. So in a very sad incident, apparently a 2-year-old was killed in a Hyundai Palisade because the rear seats, and I'm not clear whether it was second or third row. I haven't been able to see that detail, so I don't want to say it, but one of the back rows
But
came
both
down.
back row seats can fold down.
Right.
by
I don't know
power.
which rows that
Yeah.
the child was in, but they're power seats. And apparently there's something not quite right in the top 2 trims where it doesn't recognize that there's something in those rear seats. And it closed on the child, and a child got killed. So Hyundai has issued a stop sale, which means you can't buy it at the dealership right now. Apparently there's going to be an update that's going to take care of it. But something to just be extra aware of if you happen to have a Hyundai Palisade. I mean, you should never be putting the seats down when somebody else is in them, the power seats, because you could hurt someone. But just be super conscious of it if you happen to have a Hyundai Palisade right now and you have kids in the rear seats. When you go to put the seat down, make sure you're putting the correct row down that does not have your kids in it, because the seat mechanism isn't currently recognizing that a child is there. Just a little safety thing. Just came out within, I think Friday they came out with that.
Yeah, it was Friday, I think. And I suspect that we may hear the same news from Kia as well.
I had, so in the trying to get confirmation, I had spoken to like secondhand, but someone who had said no, they reached out to Kia, and Kia said we're not anticipating that. But
So
we'll
maybe
see.
they have
So
a little
far,
bit different mechanism
maybe
in their
there's
seats.
something different. Yeah. But so at this point, the Telluride, no problem. But the Palisade, it's an issue. But the Kia has not said anything about the Telluride yet. So
Yeah, so I think I think it's just the top 2 versions of the Palisade, so the Limited and the Calligraphy are the only ones affected by this, because the others don't have the
Correct.
power seats for the
Yeah.
second and third row. So any of the other trims, you're fine, but you won't be able to buy a Limited or Calligraphy right now.
right. So
All right. Well, in the course of getting sick last week, I did do a lot of traveling, and I went from Santa Barbara to San Francisco for a conference, and then went to New York for Lucid's first ever investor day that they did in Manhattan, because they are trying desperately to get investors to buy more Lucid stock instead of selling it. So, Marc Winterhoff, the still interim CEO, almost 14 months later, I don't know how long he's going to keep the interim.
He's been the interim for over a year now. Wow.
Yeah, end of January last year.
Wow.
Anyway, he and some of the other executives have gone through, some of the things that Lucid is doing to bring their costs down and improve a bunch of things in order to get to profitability, and they're anticipating getting to at least positive free cash flow, which is one of many measures of profitability, by somewhere around 2028 or 2029. I'm not going to go through all of that stuff, but one thing, they talked about some of the things that they're doing for their next program. So they've got the Aire and the Gravity out now, and at the end of this year, they are going to start production of the first of their mid-size models. So these are their next a new generation platform that is smaller, more cost-effective to build, more cost-effective to buy, and the first of these go into production around the end of this year. And there are going to be, right now, the plan is for 3 different crossovers based on this mid-size platform. The first one is a sportier model that is called Cosmos. And then later next year, there will be a more mainstream model that they're calling Earth. And then after that, there will be a model that does not yet have an official name, but they showed on the chart that they showed us, they had, some of the competitors. And so for Cosmos, they had things like Mach-E and Model Y. And for the mainstream, they had things like the Ioniq 5. And then for this unnamed model, they had stuff like the Bronco and Wrangler and Rivian R2. So you can kind of guess where that model's going. That's going to be their more off-road adventure model. And they talked about some of the stuff that they're doing, but then they showed us a couple of things. They showed us a concept, which right now is strictly a design concept. It's not currently slated for production, but that concept was for a 2-seat robotaxi. Yeah, because they're doing a robotaxi program right now with Nuro and Uber. They're putting the Nuro automated driving system, on the Gravity, and that is currently undergoing testing in California, and they plan to launch commercial service with that by the end of this year. But then after that, they are also going to apply the same system to the Cosmos and start using that as a robotaxi in addition to the Gravity. And then this concept that they showed a 2-seater based on the midsize platform, but shorter. It had no doors, no windows or anything, but it was just kind of a design concept of the basic shape, which looked pretty interesting. It's a little bit more practical looking than the Tesla Cybercab. But my guess is if they build that, it probably won't be until at least the latter half of 2028, maybe 2029 before we see something like that.
To be honest, a 2-seat robotaxi is dumb. It's just dumb. It doesn't matter who makes it. They should have at least 4 or more seats. The idea, like, now I gotta call 2 robotaxis to take me and my friends out to wherever.
Right.
Well, but when you're going to offer robotaxis like that, in the app, you put in how many passengers. If you got 3 or 4 passengers, you get a bigger vehicle. If it's just yourself,
the smaller vehicle?
Because
it's just a waste of
what they find is that
time.
Most of the time people are riding around by themselves.
It's just a waste.
Vast majority of rides is just one passenger.
It's just more and more cars on the road for reasons that don't need to be. It makes no sense. You can't convince me that, like, well, most passengers, but when there are 3 people, like, oh wait, now we got to get 4. Just make a 4. You have cars that have 4 doors. Current robotaxis on the road have at least 3 seats. Don't make it. You know what? If you want to make a CRX, go for it. But don't make a robotaxi CRX.
Okay, fair enough. Then after the presentation was done, and they live streamed that presentation, after the presentation was done, they turned off the cameras. Then they split us up into groups and took us around, and we actually got to see the Cosmos. both the whole vehicle and also all the stuff that's under the skin. And we learned all kinds of stuff about this thing. So, we were not allowed to take any photos of the vehicle.
Can you talk about it?
I can talk about it. I can describe it.
So what did you think about how it looked?
So,
Start there.
it still has a Lucid vibe to it, but it's different. It's different from the Gravity and from the Aire. It's a little more curvy. The fenders, got a little more curvature to them. The Cosmos, the roof line kind of slopes down a little bit towards the back, so it's got a little sportier look to it. Got a big hatchback in the back. And I don't know if you remember, like the old Honda CRZ hybrid coupe that they did, where you basically had almost flat rear window, and then there was the back edge of the hatch, and then there was vertical glass in the back. It's kind of like that kind of look to it. So you had two pieces of glass, one that was almost horizontal, and then a vertical piece. As you would expect in a Lucid, really good packaging. Lots of room in the back for stuff. Big, good size front trunk, and also a decent amount of storage space under the back seat. So the back seat is kind of like a Honda Magic Seat in a Honda Fit. It flips up. You can put stuff under the back seat.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. In the back in the cargo area, there's floor panels that you can take out. So by default, they are at the same height as bumper height. So you got a flat load. When you fold down the back seats, you got a flat floor all the way through. But if you need more space in the back, you can lift those out. You can either put stuff underneath them. So there's a good, there's underneath, like behind the rear axle, just like in the Aire and the Gravity, there's a big bin back there where you can put a couple of carry-on bags back there. There's about 6 inches, or actually probably closer to about 7 or 8 inches beneath the floor and that rear cargo floor in the back. In general, it's got a lot of the things we've come to expect of a Lucid. Mostly decent amount of balance between physical controls and virtual stuff. So you got physical controls for fan speed and temperature, 4 window switches on the driver's door panel,
and the vents.
They broke the vents.
Oh.
I complained to Derek Jenkins about it.
All right.
I let him know what I thought about that.
Come on, Derek. Derek's a good
guy. Derek is the head of product at Lucid, head of design and product. And so I told him I thought that was a bad idea. But
they got time to change it.
Yeah.
Derek, if you're listening, come on. Who are you impressing with this? Who is excited about virtually going into a screen to adjust their vents? Nobody. Like 4 bros, our tech bros, are really excited. Look, I can go on my screen. And the rest of us are like, I could just go over here and do this in my car. And I could do them one at a time. They're all individually controlled.
What he did say is, that they actually, they've got, he said they've got some pretty interesting camera stuff that they're using, to help with guiding the airflow.
No.
We'll see. We'll see how that plays
Robbie's
out.
face, no.
We're going to make it more expensive. We're going to take a hardware vent that people use and like, and we're going to replace it with a servo and a sensor.
But that's so far, at least from what we saw last Thursday, that was the one thing we saw wrong with this.
All right.
Everything else about it is actually really cool. Like the electronic architecture, going from the Aire to the Gravity, they simplified it, and now they've simplified it even more. So now there's just one central compute box, and it's actually mounted in the front bulkhead. Cool. And so there's connectors on both sides of it. So instead of running a big harness through the bulkhead and wrapping it around to plug into the thing, you mount this thing in the bulkhead, and stuff coming from the passenger cabin plugs in on one side, stuff coming in from under the hood plugs in on the other side. It's actually some really interesting ideas there. And then there's 2 aggregator units, so not quite zonal control units like you're seeing on a lot of cars. It's more like what GM's doing with their aggregators, where it's just power distribution and signal distribution. It's not really doing any compute in there. And there's one in each front fender, like below the A-pillar. So and for the driver's feet, it'll be to the left of your feet for the driver, to the right of your feet for the passenger in that area. But both of them are identical. So there's actually only one part number. So there's two pieces, one part number. So you can put it in either side.
That's how you save money. That and getting rid of a servo and a sensor for a vent. Come on. It's really easy to make an expensive car. It's really hard to make a car that people can afford.
Yeah,
well,
right?
It's funny. A couple of years ago, Lucid hired a guy named Corey Steuben, who used to be at Monroe and Associates. He was president at Monroe and Associates. They brought him in as like senior VP of cost savings or something like that. Basically, he kind of oversees a lot of the engineering stuff and helps make a lot of decisions about how they're going to do stuff to figure out how to make this thing cheaper to build, but also serviceable for customers. So like the body structure, there's some interesting stuff. And the battery pack, they didn't get any details on the battery pack except that, it'll charge from 0 to 200 miles in 15 minutes. It's an 800 volt system. It is a structural battery pack, but that's all they would tell us. But like in the other room where we saw the body in white without all the body panels or interior on it, you could see that unlike a Tesla where they have the entire floor is missing and they use the battery as the floor, in this one, they still have a couple of, in the middle, they have a big section, which is a structural section for side impact protection. But then, there's big chunks of the floor that are gone where they don't need that extra metal. And then the battery fits in there. The body structure itself is a mix of it's a mix of steel, aluminum, castings, stampings. So instead of doing the big unicastings like Tesla does and what some of the Chinese are doing and what Ford's doing for their universal EV program, they're using they like in the front they've got 2 large castings for the front suspension and everything, but then the crash rails are separate steel panels or steel extrusions that so they can collapse. So in the event of a crash, it makes it easier to repair. So it reduces repair costs, should hopefully reduce insurance costs. A lot of interesting details that they did in this thing to bring the cost down. The motors, they use the exact same drive unit for the front and the rear axle. Literally, they're interchangeable. You could take out the rear, put it in the front, and vice versa. So there's not even any different connectors or anything else. Everything is exactly the same. So they cut down on the total number of parts by, I forget how, I think it's like 30%. They took out a lot of wiring. It's like 2.1 kilometers of wiring, so about 1.5 or 1.4, 1.3, 1.4 miles of wiring compared to a typical modern car that might be 3.5 miles of wiring. Even a Tesla is about 2+ miles of wiring. So they did a lot of stuff like that to take out cost. So I think, they said a lot of the right things, but now, like every time, now they got to execute on this.
Yeah.
And
that'll be the challenge.
You got to make the car.
Yeah. Will we get? Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that production is starting late this year. They have a second plant now in Saudi Arabia. And the initial production of the midsize is actually going to happen in Saudi Arabia first.
Huh.
And so it's going to be a mix, so that plant is going to supply the Middle East, it's going to supply Europe, And initially, it's also going to supply the U.S. But then eventually, like about 6 months after they start production in Saudi Arabia, they will start production of this vehicle in Arizona, where they build the Aire and the Gravity as well. And so that will give, so they don't want to start both of them at the same time. They want to do one plant at a time, get everything sorted out, and then do the other plant. So they decide to start with Saudi Arabia, and then they'll start with the U.S. plant sometime middle of next year.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, sometime in around June-ish time frame, the rest of the world should get to see the cosmos and the Earth.
Cosmos.
Cosmos.
So, it looks promising. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I can't wait to actually try it out.
I mean, Lucid has some of the best engineers in the world, really, in when it comes to building and packaging EVs. I mean, even their boss was the engineer until someone happened to talk to somebody in Saudi Arabia, and then suddenly they were like, "Oh, we gotta get rid of Peter."
Yeah,
which was Anyway, beyond that, it's weirdness. No, they're smart cookies. Outside the vent thing sounds great.
Yeah. I know.
Let's do this. So talking with Zach Walker, who I guess, what is your title? Your full title now? It's been in charge of a bunch of engineering stuff at Lucid.
Yeah. So I was the chief engineer for the Lucid Gravity. When that was launching, I got pulled over to help lead and be the chief engineer for the Lucid midsize platform. So looking over that entire platform, I'm now doing I'm in charge of our product management team, which is like the customer experience. How do we expand the customer experience, and how do we like breathe experience through every single little part of the vehicle? And I'm leading advanced product creation, which is all the front next concepts, leading what we're doing next. How do we ideate? Like my team was one who we concepted and thought about Lunar and built that from the ground up. And so that's kind of my story through Lucid.
Okay. Well, we're here today. Today was Lucid's first, I think, the first investor day that they've.
Yeah, it was.
And, a big part, obviously there's a lot of discussion about financial stuff, and I'm not going to talk about that. But this is the first time that we've gotten more of a deep dive on the midsize.
Yeah.
And, it talked about 3 initial models coming up, 2 of which have names now, Cosmos and Earth, and then a third. Yep. And, we learned a bunch of stuff. There's obviously still a lot of stuff to come. We got a lot more questions. I'm going to super excited about the next 9 months.
Yeah, we're super excited to get to show you all that in the next 9 months, right? So very excited.
I mean, I've always been fascinated by Lucid as a company and the products that the team has created.
Yeah.
Starting with the Aire, I first saw it several months before it was shown publicly.
Yeah.
And the Gravity, I think, is a great vehicle, but the Cosmos is really interesting. So let's start off, for the listeners of Wheel Bearings, what was the theme? What was the overall strategy of what you tried to do with this vehicle?
I think it was be true to who Lucid is and our DNA, right? So we hit that up on, right? Energy efficiency, space efficiency, performance efficiency, right? Making a car that is bigger on the inside than the outside, making a car that goes further with less energy than anyone else, and making a car that has this engagement of driving, right? We call it the giggle factor, right? My goal is not how fast can you set lap times when you drive the Eddie Lucid vehicle. My goal is how much do you laugh when you drive the Lucid?
How much does it make you smile?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So it's when we talked about the midsize, it was how do we take that mentality and breathe it in to a more obtainable vehicle, right? So we see this as like this huge market. It's for both Europe and US. It is just one of the largest markets you can imagine. And that correlates very well with our mission, which is like really driving the world forward by using our technology and creating these amazing experiences. So our goal was those 3 pillars of efficiency, but then taking it to the next level to make it more attainable, which is this radical new efficiency with how we're using software and a radical efficiency with how we're doing manufacturing to achieve what we would call a product superiority and cost efficiency of a vehicle that we think is going to lead to success.
Yeah, and that whole concept of radical efficiency across the board, you had five areas there, including the energy efficiency, the software efficiency, the performance efficiency. Two of them were really new: the software efficiency and manufacturing efficiency.
Yeah.
And for a startup, manufacturing in particular has obviously been a challenge for you guys. Yeah. Building cars is hard.
It is the most fun and gut-wrenching thing you'll ever work on. It is the most complicated product that everyone expects to work perfectly.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I'm an engineer by training. I spent 17 years of product development myself in the auto industry, so I know what you speak of. So let's talk about energy efficiency or the manufacturing efficiency first. You've done a lot of things very differently with this car versus what was done in Gravity and Aire. Talk about some of the highlights of that.
Yeah. So first I'll talk about the theory where so Peter did this thing, and I believe in his vision so much, which was every millimeter counts. Like every engineer who was next to Peter would hear every millimeter count. Like it would be pushed into our brain over and over and over. And what I think we've done for midsize is take that methodology, but say it's not just every millimeter that counts for the customer. It's also every millimeter that counts for manufacturing. And you have to make the manufacturing efficiency a priority when you're going to make this many jobs per hour, how you're going to hit this market and hit this efficiency. So when we talk about what we did differently, right, we can hit a couple of big points, but one, we obsessed on part count. And that's one of the things we're most proud of. If there was a single part that did one job, I would want it out of the car, right? When we would do design reviews, it was like, how much does that do? Does that do this? It's like, are you doing structure? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? If it did one job, it's like, why is it doing one thing? So the entire mentality was jobs that did multiple parts that did multiple things. One of my favorite examples is actually our woofer box. So if you go to the center of the car, we have our our woofer in the center of the car, right under the front occupant. What a lot of companies will do is you'll add up this big woofer box. It's this volume because it's how you let the subwoofer breathe. You have not having back pressure. It lets it move. Well, what we did was we took the structure we already had from the body, and then the battery is closing out that body. So we already have no floor. We have the battery is the floor. What we did was we added the seal that then was enclosing battery to body, and we put it into that section, which was body and battery together. And now we made that the volume for the woofer. So now we didn't have to add a box. We already had a structure. We already had the top of the battery. And now we have this huge volume, which allows us to these amazing audio experience without adding cost. Like, so that is the epitome of like manufacturing efficiency. We also talk about specifically as a software-defined vehicle, electrical architecture.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Was your E architecture.
And so what happens is what you find is, let's talk about the wire harness first, right? The wire harness sucks. Just frankly, if anyone's like, I apologize to all the wire harness engineers out there, but your job is the worst.
Well, I remember years ago working on a research project for a supplier who was working on next gen zone architectures. Yeah. And they described an example of one of their customers, a large German luxury car manufacturer, and the wire harness in this thing. The wire harness for each car came in its own crate. Yep. And it took 9 people to install it into the vehicle. But before they could do that, they took it out of the crate. They would run it through an oven to get it pliable enough that they could then 9 people could maneuver it into the body.
Yeah. And so now that's what it could be, the negative of how bad it is. What we did was we said, okay, you can't solve that problem by changing one thing. You have to change everything. So literally we would have entire design reviews, like days upon days, about why is that wire there? Basically every single person who was asking for a wire had to prove it to me as the chief engineer. So Matt Bachman, who's downstairs, was my assistant chief engineer. He would run these reviews. We'd all come together, and you must prove every single wire in the car. And so what we did was we really cut down, we caused efficiency, we caused commonization, we pushed things together. We did a lot of these advanced methodologies of, okay, can we get rid of that component and replace it by a virtual component, a machine learning component to give the same experience, but get rid of extra wires. we did these things where one of my favorite things we did was we used the super gateway, which is our main intelligence, and we use that to cover the hole in the dash. So if you've ever seen someone in another OEM, they do that. They have to warm up the wire, and then they have to pull all those wires through the dash. We don't do that. What we do is we left a huge hole that we then cover by the super gateway. Most of the wires go directly in the super gateway from both the dry zone and the wet zone. But we did is the few wires that need to pass, you put it through this huge hole for the super gateway, you press it into the side of the dash panel, that D shape holds it there, it's a seal, and then you put the super gateway on, bolt it up, and make all the connections. Literally, when we talk about the way that everyone was shocked, when like we literally were able to put a wire harness in 4 minutes, when we were expecting it to take a day, we surprised ourselves. We were in awe that we could achieve that because of this mentality of radical efficiency.
Yeah, and another example of, what you talked about with having the same part do multiple things. In addition to that super gateway, you've got these two aggregate boxes that do power and signal distribution.
Exactly.
And normally what you would find is these things would be non-symmetrical, and you would have one that goes on the left, one that goes on the right. They're not interchangeable.
Yeah.
Even though they're doing the same thing.
Exactly.
And you guys designed it so that same one part number goes in both spots and does the same job.
So that right. So this is when we talk about full system.
Yeah.
That probably made my body engineers more mad than they've ever been, because we literally were like reshaping the door P1 opening. So down low, we basically have it where my foot swings. I want that to be amazing. Then that's where the aggregator goes. We were reshaping the P1. And then above, P1 is the door opening, it's the seal. And then above where you have visibility, we then crook the basically opening around that. So we give you what you want as a customer, which is the foot swing and the visibility. And we had to reshape the body in the middle, which is where you don't care about it, but so that we could mandate, we had the common aggregators, these common two parts. And so when we talk about this obsession, that's the level. It's like body engineers were being affected to force ECU commonality. That's how we went deep, and everyone had to be a part of this entire discussion about how do we minimize every single part.
And, I think another interesting example, is around looking at total cost of ownership for the customer.
Yeah.
And what is the customer experience like? Not just what is it like for Lucid to build this thing, but what's the experience like for the customer as they own this thing for years on end? And, as part of that was the whole front structure of the car. And, one thing you haven't done is you didn't use just a single large casting there. Can you talk about what you've done there and what, the strategy you took?
Yeah. So let's say as Lucid, we started with not assuming materials and not assuming manufacturing. We designed a structure first that we thought was the most efficient, and we found where we thought the most efficient thicknesses, most efficient materials were in each one of those spots, right? You start with a clean sheet. That's the benefit. You don't have to come in with assumptions. And what we found was castings in the corners of the vehicle, super important. That's where tons of things come together. There's all these joints. You have to bolt on the shocks. You have to bolt on braces. You have to where the windshield comes. It is just one of the most locally dense areas on all cars. It's where loads transfer. It's a big deal. So we put castings in those corners. But the two things we didn't do. One, we didn't connect the left and right casting. We could have. But what we saw was that the left and right castings were only connected by one dash panel. We had a really big stamping. So I could remove that dash panel and get rid of those joints. But in reality, that's not many joints, because all you're doing is connecting three parts together, right? A dash panel into two castings. But that dash panel is super thin. A casting has to be thicker, right? Because you have to have this material is flowing. It has to be a lot thicker. So one, we were able to make that dash panel way thinner, and reduce weight, which leads to radical efficiency, because we didn't just arbitrarily say it has to be a giga casting. So we did what we thought was right for us and for the customer. And then finally, when you talk about that front end, we didn't bring the casting all the way out to the front. We basically made these two separate bolted in zones, one for very low speed and one for medium speed. The low speed, you basically don't have to change anything. Like if you have a low speed incident, you have to take off the bumper beam, you have to basically fix up the fascia, but really not much. This other one, yes, maybe if you went into this crumple zone, maybe you're going to damage like hood, you're going to have other things, but you're not damaging the main part of the body. That area is body, drive unit, subframe, super gateway, That's like the most expensive area. So what we did is protect that area at all costs. Let it absorb energy so that we can really prove and get these insurance costs lower so that we can help our customer. Because I think one of the biggest prohibitive things that like brings customers into EVs in this space is insurance, is cost. We want you to not be that, have that be a worry. You want to get rid of that barrier. So we obsessed about every dollar of insurance we could save you when you buy the vehicle.
Okay. I think, that's the thing that often does get ignored is, what are the other costs that the customer has to face, down the road. So it's good to hear that you've thought about that and taken a real systems approach to this and pick the right materials, the right processes for every single part. So some of the other things about this, it looks like you've got a structural battery pack, but unlike, for example, the Tesla Model Y with a structural battery pack, well, the body has no floor. The battery is that whole floor, and then all the interior is bolted to that battery pack. And actually, Ford is doing the same thing for their new EVs. You've taken a little bit different approach there again.
We called it a semi-hybrid, like a hybrid approach. So we thought, we did a lots of calculations. We saw that we could save a bunch of weight and cost by letting the floor where your feet go be the top of the battery. But we saw personally, and again, I think this according to our manufacturing line, what we focused on, we saw that we still wanted a structural brace, was the most efficient thing for the body anyways, that connected the front of where the seats go. We still let that as a structural brace. That was way more efficient for us.
And that goes back to what you said earlier. Now you've also got that space to use for
and now we can use it for the woofer. So now, exactly, like we would have had to have a structure there anyways. So what was the savings of putting that on somewhere else? For us, it didn't add up. So we did a hybrid approach, which was, yes, places that were very flat and could just be the battery top, we did that. Places that were going to need to have big structure anyways, we put that as a part of the battery. So it was basically the most efficient overall structure and achieved what we see now, which is our radical efficiency and our energy efficiency, which is unmatched.
Yeah. And then, you've also, one of the things right from the Aire onwards, every Lucid vehicle had been really great when it came to cargo space. Having a lot, the Aire, you look at it, it's not that big of a car, but it's got a ton of trunk space, plus you've got a big trunk. Same thing with the Gravity. And you've done some cool stuff here with this vehicle as well to make it, again, both a lot of space that's available for customers to use, but also to make it as going back to that efficiency thing.
Yeah, it just goes back to like our job is to give value back to the customer, make them realize that like they can't get that anywhere else. So everything we've done, right, is when we talk about miniaturization of drive units, that aspect unlocks tons of efficiency in the vehicle. When you miniaturize the drive unit of the front drive unit, you can push the front occupant forward. When you fight to push the front occupant forward, you increase the space for a same exterior size to exterior size, you have much more interior size. When you do that, you can choose how you distribute that between occupant space and cargo space, right? When you build everything in a system around hand and glove drive unit to battery, the body structure being integrated, you pushing everything out, you get that space. And it's just about who Lucid is the compromise nothing mentality is about, you don't have to choose between the sports car and the car with all the cargo. You get both. Yeah. You can giggle and look behind you and say, oh my gosh, how was all this in my car? And that's what we believe in. And that's what we're trying to give.
So, all of this, of course, has also led to a lot more energy efficiency.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of energy efficiency are Cosmos customers going to expect?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stay away from the normal mile per kilowatt hour because a lot of people get confused by that. So I'm gonna talk about it, assuming 300 miles of range, right? If we assume 300 miles of range that you're trying to get,
which is not necessarily the range.
That's not the range of the vehicle. I'm just giving you a normal idea. 300 miles of range is a threshold on a lot of people.
That's kind of what the table stakes
exactly
for most EVs.
For correct. For 300 miles of range, you basically need about 69 kilowatt hours. It can be even less than that in certain configurations, but let's say for an all-wheel drive, about 69 kilowatt hours. You can compare it to some other very advanced new coming out platforms. And what they're given for that same 300 miles is like 82 to 86 kilowatt hours. That can equate to about like $2,000 of battery cost. That's $2,000 that the customer has to spend to get the same experience. And actually it's worse because now the vehicle is out of your way and you have to go deal with it. So like radical efficiency isn't just about this random number and we care and it's, oh, just believe us, it's good. It's literally money that if we're trying to sell the vehicle for the same cost, we can distribute to other experiences. And it's all about radical efficiency leads to a product superiority and a cost efficiency for us. So it's like that $2,000 delta that now I can give to other things because we did this is what radical efficiency is about.
Awesome. So anything else, I mean, we've talked a lot about this. Of course, people aren't going to be able to see this.
I know that's the hard part.
I have a chance to see it now, but I can't, we can't talk about that. But any other highlights of the Cosmos that, or the platform that you want to talk about or we haven't touched on?
Yeah, I think for me, I think we've touched on a lot of it, the radical efficiency, everything we were trying to achieve. I'm just super excited for people to see this vehicle. I think when we show it, people are going to be blown away. It is just next level. So and everyone at Lucid are so excited to get to show this to the world and like start taking the next step with midsize and show it off. So I think we're just all like holding our excitement to be able to show the world.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great to talk to you. Great to meet you today.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
Anyway, let's move on. So Honda also had some EV news on that very same day that Lucid was doing their thing.
Womp.
Womp, womp, womp.
Somebody want to tell us about it so I can stop talking for a minute?
Yes,
So-
you can stop. Oh, go ahead. Your turn, Robbie. You talk.
So I went down the Honda's HQ in Torrance, California to look at the Honda Zero Saloon and the Zero SUV. And the SUV especially, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it has the Honda name because the Prologue did so well, even though it's essentially a Blazer. But because there's a Honda badge on it, people want to buy it because people want a Honda EV. And then Honda decided, we're going to make our own platform. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have, we're working on solid state batteries. We're doing all this great stuff. And then last week it's like, oh, you know what? We're not doing that now. We're not building SUV. We're not building these EVs for the US. We're not going to do that. Who knows what's going to happen to Afeela because they were going to build it in the Ohio plant where these EVs were going to be built. Instead, Honda just pulled back, did a huge multi-billion, 1.5, whatever, 15, I don't know. They did a huge write-down, which means they spent a lot of money to do something, and then at the last minute decided not to do it. And it also happened to be not just at the same time that Lucid was happening, but at the same time that gas prices started spiking. And people started searching for...
What could possibly go wrong?
EV searches went up 20% for like low-cost EVs. And so... it's just the absolute worst timing to sort of do this. It's disappointing because Honda had the Honda E in Europe. They never brought it to the US. And the story, there's a story out there about it. I can just give you the rough details. Is that one person said no, Honda Japan said okay, and then when it came out, Honda America was like, oh, this looks cool, and then Honda Japan's like, no, man, we already built the car. We'd have to homologate it for the U.S. We'd have to change all these things. So one guy said no, and so we didn't. So it seems like a lot of just very weirdness when it comes to Honda EVs. They had the Clarity EV, which they'd sold as sort of like, oh, it's like a luxury car, but it's really, it gets like 80 miles of range. It was a weird sort of like, hey, here's our EV for the U.S. market. And then they were like, we're going to have these cars. And it felt like Honda was going to do the thing that they were going to do. The thing that they brought me to Japan for 2 years ago to talk to the...
I forgot about that you went all the way to Japan.
I talked to the CEO of Honda. I talked to the Honda's brand new CEO, talked to their new head of EV. And they were both like, we're making EVs. It was the whole point of the trip. Was to tell us, was to have this conversation.
Was it, we're making EVs,
they did not, EVs. No, they did, but they were very much on board. I was like, all right, good. Honda has some really like Lucid. They have some great engineers. Yeah. They're going to have their own, platform. They're working on solid state battery. And now
All of that for
It
naught.
all went away, just suddenly and weirdly. And Honda's a very conservative company. I don't think people realize that. Even more conservative than Toyota, which Toyota now has good EVs after years of me being like, what the hell's Toyota doing?
Right? Now Toyota's like, wait, we're in, people.
We're all in. And then Honda's like, nah, we're out. And that is so disappointing, especially as someone who's owned multiple Hondas. Because you're like, these are good cars. If you make an EV, I'll probably end up buying it. Nope.
Yeah, well, at least this probably tells us the fate of Afeela, which was almost certainly going to fail anyway.
It wasn't a good idea ever.
Yeah, but the Afeela was going to use a bunch of the components from the 0 Series, the motors, the battery, a bunch of other stuff, and it was going to be built in a Honda factory, but a different Honda factory from where the Honda and Acura models were going to be built, and when I, as soon as I saw the news that Honda was dropping their EVs, I sent a note to Afeela and said, "So, what's the deal?" So I got a note back from the PR person at Afeela that said, let's see what it exactly said. Said Sony Honda Mobility is aware of Honda Motors' decision to pause its EV business in North America.
God.
Our parent companies, Sony Group Corporation and Honda, will hold discussions on how this affects SHM. Therefore, there is no more information we can speak to at this moment. We are operating as usual. So they don't know where they're going to get motors from or batteries, but they're operating as usual.
Totally as usual. Nothing's changed, folks. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
They were so proud. They are making solid state batteries at like a test line right now in Japan. What I mean, like they talked about how hard it was for them to do business in China. I mean, the press release is very much like, we messed up, or we're not doing what we're doing. We're going to take a price, all the bosses are going to lose money. There's a lot of like, we're really sorry type of thing. And I'm like,
oops.
Okay, but also you're like 3/4 of the way there. And
the cars are done. They're developed. You've tooled up the factories. You've got all the equipment.
I think if they just looked at the U.S. market, which again, the U.S. it's a thunderdome over here right now in the United States when it comes to trying to figure out what you can and can't sell, if people can afford anything, But the fact that gas prices have like gone through the roof and that people are looking up EVs means, again, you're Ford, Honda, like everyone's sort of giving up their EV market, and to now, well, it was Hyundai and GM. Now it's Hyundai, GM, and Toyota. Outside of like the luxury market, outside of the BMWs, which are great. The new people seem to really like the new iX3. I haven't driven it. The CLA is great. I drove the CLA EV. It's a great little EV. Outside of like luxury, like for regular people, it's essentially those three companies: Hyundai, Toyota, GM, and then Slate.
Yeah,
that's if this small company from Indiana who hasn't even built a vehicle yet, it has 160,000 like reservations. If they take off like gangbusters, everyone in the traditional auto world should feel embarrassed.
Yes.
Just they should, because you could have done this, but instead you're like, we're going to add AI to everything, and it, no one wants.
It is a strange, strange world in automotive. Like I feel like the last 5 years or 6, I guess it is now, ever since COVID, things went sideways. No one knew what to do. Everything went crazy. What are we going to build? What are we going to ship? What do we have? Wait, we're going to go with EVs. No, we're not. Wait, no, we are. No, we're going to go with self-driving.
It's a lot of turmoil, and it's turmoil because leadership won't just stick to a plan. If they just said, this is what we're going to do, and everyone, that's what we're going to do. And so I've asked Hyundai multiple times. I'm like, how do you get everyone just like, that's what we do? If we said we're going to make EVs, everyone in the company's like, fine, we're making EVs. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to keep doing it until we make money. That's it. We're going to do this thing. And then everyone else was sort of like, and I know GM had issues with software, and Volkswagen had issues with software, and Ford was sort of, but Ford was sort of like, we're doing it. No, we're not. Ford was always like 1 foot in and made 2 really great EVs. They weren't, the Mach-E is a great EV.
Yeah.
The F-150 Lightning is a great EV that truck people kind of don't want. But they were never like all in. You got to go all in. And I think that's what's happened. And right now it looks like Toyota's gone all in. GM's gone all in, and they've sort of solved some of the issues they had with software early on. And so the people are going all in. Hyundai's making money on their EVs. And I asked them like years ago, I'm like, so how do you rectify, losing money? And they're like, what are you talking about? Why would we sell a car that doesn't make money? They were just like, they thought I was a crazy person for asking them that question. Of course we make money on our cars. What are you talking about?
So the Hondas aren't the only EVs going away. There's also the Volvo EX30.
I feel sad about the Volvo EX30. It was such a little car. Come on, you
it had such a weird history. Like
that's what I mean.
It was like,
coming
oh my
out,
God, everyone was so excited,
right?
And
then they did. I remember they did a launch in Spain. It flew a bunch of people to Spain. You drove it. Then it was in the final 3 for NACTOY. That's how good it did because we all drove it. They're like, guess
right up until it wasn't.
Right. They're like, we're not going to get it to you in time. So we're really sorry, but we have to withdraw at the last minute. We're like, okay. So, I mean, it was that on track at one point. And then it never seemed to figure itself out. Like, failure to launch. I'm sad about it. Yeah.
I know people who had reservations for this car. Like, they were excited to get it. And then, like, of course, it was delayed. And then that person went out and bought something else. I think they bought a Chevy Bolt.
And now, I know I know there's an EX30 cross country in the Detroit press fleet. At least there was as of last Thursday because I saw it at the airport. And so I'm probably never going to get a chance to drive that one.
Oh, yeah. They probably took it out of the fleet.
No, they'll take it out because they're not going to even. Yeah. It's a goner.
A goner.
It's a goner.
So there is an EV that is launching, and that's the Rivian R2, but not going to be quite as affordable, at least for a while yet, for anybody that wants one.
The pricing on this, that was the big promise of this. So it's disappointing because the big promise was Rivian is a premium vehicle. They have, the R1S and R1T are expensive vehicles, but they're premium vehicles. Rivian is just something you can afford from Rivian. And the R2, and I pulled it up just to verify, it starts just under $50,000, $48,490. That's not.
Yeah, but look at the date.
I know.
That's 2027.
2027. 2027.
So they're doing the thing that it feels like a lot of companies did like 5 years ago, where they bring out the very expensive EV. Mm-hmm. This is the one you can get. Lucid did this. Mercedes, the first with EQS. Everyone had the big expensive EV. That way people, they would use that as like, the rich people would buy this and then we could use that money to build everything else.
Yeah.
But when you say, hey, we're going to have, this is a disappointment. But also I'm waiting for the R3, to be honest.
Yeah. So the one that is launching this spring is the R2 Performance, which has 330 miles of range, 656 horsepower, all-wheel drive, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, and cost $58,000 before options.
Because we don't have enough $60,000 EVs.
Exactly, because we don't have enough of those. We need more of those.
I'm sure it's doing well, to be honest. There's for what it is. People like the Rivians. I think this is cheaper than what they already have on the market.
Yeah, but is it going to do well enough to really get Rivian to a scale that they need to be at to make money?
That's the key.
That's the weird balance. Like if you had the inexpensive one, you came out with all of them, then you could say, oh, okay, well, people are going to buy it. But if you only have the expensive version, you're gambling with it. Because now you're like, well, what happens if we can't sell enough because it's too expensive? What happens if we create the ID Buzz of Rivians?
Yeah.
The ID Buzz.
And, it would, it'd be one thing, if you, when you're launching, if you want to stagger them a little bit, to do one trim at a time, make sure you can build it right, but, make that like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or however long, until you start building them right. Then add another trim and another trim. But the premium, the mid-level trim, isn't coming till late this year at $54,000, and then the standard won't be till sometime in 2027. That's a rear-wheel drive, single-motor rear-wheel drive for $48,500.
Yeah, and they had talked about 45, and then
yeah, it's a little disappointing. I don't think anybody's going to be excited about this. Like, not about the car, just about the price and how long it's going to take. Like, I think everybody had higher hopes for it than, like, we'll see it sooner and it will be more affordable. It is neither.
What happens is you end up with the situation that GM had with the Silverado, whereas it came out, the first version came out was $100,000. And guess what's in everyone's brain going forward for the Silverado? It's a $100,000 truck. People coming up to me, well, I had the Silverado EV. It was, $70,000, $80,000 version, but they were like, this truck costs $100,000. Like, I didn't ask them about this Silverado. They just came up to me and they informed me that I had paid $100,000 for this car. And I'm like, that's what happens when you come out with the high-end version, is that everyone has that price stuck in their brain forever now.
Yep. And that's what you're perceived as forever. It's very hard to change that once the perception of your brand is set. Very hard to change it.
Speaking of people buying the cars that we drive, on Sunday afternoon I was outside doing something in the driveway, and this guy pulls up to the end of the driveway and says hi, and I turn around and look. He's driving a blue Kia K4 hatchback, and he introduced himself, and he said, "Hi, I live over, on one of the other streets in the neighborhood here. I've seen, the cars you drive. I was curious what you do, and so we chatted for a few minutes, and he said, yeah, I saw the K4 hatchback you had a few weeks ago, and I liked it. I stopped by and I looked at it and I liked it so much that I went and bought one. So he went to the local Kia dealer and bought a K4 hatchback.
Wow, you sold a K4.
Yeah.
I mean, the K4 is a good car.
And I didn't even have to get him a
better.
discount code.
I have the K4 hatchback. Actually, it's what I got for this coming week. So I'll be talking about it next week. But that's what I have in my driveway right now. And I was just driving it and thinking how much fun that little car is.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. So we talked a while back about somebody who bought a GM EV1. It's the only private owner of a GM EV1 outside of General Motors. And there's a video, there's a YouTube channel called Questionable Garage, and they've had a series as they, this EV1 had been abandoned. The windshield was broken, and they've been tearing it apart, getting it ready to do a full restoration on it. And in the latest 2 episodes that came out over the weekend, at the end of the 3rd episode that came out, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, it ended with a message. Somebody walks into the scene and says, guys, we just got this letter. It's from Detroit. And they pull out the letter and it just says, we're watching. And it was obviously, somebody at GM watching. And so the latest 2 episodes pick up from there. And turns out GM was watching. They had actually been watching the auction for this thing, and they did not intervene. They did not try to buy the car. They just wanted to see what would happen. And once they saw the videos of what they were doing, GM reached out, and they're actually going to help these guys.
Yeah,
because they've got some stock of spare parts and whatever they have, they're going to help them with it.
Well, I think they would have to, if GM was going to do anything with this, it had to be Aire on the side of helping them, because there's a whole documentary about who killed the electric car, which does not paint GM in a good light at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, so them helping them is great. GM, again, this is a company that will do create an amazing car and then just kill it for no reason whatsoever, even if it's selling well, in favor of a truck. So them working with these guys on this is great. The Bolt reviews seem to be really good. Everyone seems to like the Bolt. They're like, it's the Bolt, but better. Yay! But it's only on sale for 18 months because GM is a weird company.
Well, apparently GM is now saying they may keep it around longer.
Because again, back to the folk. Just say you're going to do a thing and do the thing. Stop half-assing it.
Do the thing.
Stop it. I don't want GM to make the decision of the Bolt because everyone on the internet got mad. We're going to kill the Bolt. Everyone on the internet gets mad. Okay, we're bringing it back. Yay. Here's the Bolt. Everyone's like, oh, it's great. Yeah, we're only going to have it for 18 months. Everyone on the internet gets mad again. Oh, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll keep it around for a while if people buy it.
Oh, my gosh.
GM. Make the Bolt into a pickup. Oh,
there you go.
People would buy that.
VW is bringing out a second generation of the ID3, and they're going to start putting actual names on their EVs now. So the new ID, they've got the ID2 Polo, and the ID3 is now going to be called the Neo, and it's getting a bunch of upgrades, which includes some of the stuff that they did on the ID2, including more physical controls and all the good stuff, the stuff that we want.
Are we getting it?
No.
Yeah. I'm literally like, wait, it looks cute. This seems cool. Wait, and we're not getting it. Dang
it's
it,
too
Sam.
cute for America.
It's like dangling a carrot. Come on.
Too cute for America.
But hopefully we will get these upgrades on the ID4.
Yeah, that would be nice if that rolls out to other. If they say, wait, we got to make this go everywhere.
Yeah.
ID4 will get it.
I want Volkswagen to succeed at EVs. I want them to just sort of step back and just say, you know what, let's bring the buzz back, but at a reasonable price, and let the red. It's not away. It's just they're not building it for a year. For us,
technically, it's just taking a year off. It's taking a sabbatical from being a car,
probably,
and then it'll be back.
They have some unsold inventory to deal with.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could probably. I'm waiting for one to come down to 40, 35.
Oh, I bet you could get.
I'm sure there's one.
You might be able to find one for that price now.
Yeah. So now maybe that's our next.
What are you looking for? 45? No, I can't find one that cheap. I just looked. Not near me.
It'll get there.
For sale.
We're still got a little ways to go there.
I keeps up 40. I see him 47 is yeah, high 40s, and then
wait, a 2024 Pro S. What's the Pro S?
That's the
base.
That was the top trim, I think, wasn't it?
48,886.
Yeah, there's one for 47,632 near me.
So it's not quite at your 45.
But it's one color. What's the point?
I found. Oh, no, wait. That's wrong number. Never mind. 48. 48's the cheapest I can find one near me. That's it.
Give it another couple of months. It'll get there.
We'll wait a little while.
47.
Okay.
I found one for 47.
Is it one or two? All right. Sorry. We're shopping for Robbie.
We're shopping for 90 bucks. Sorry.
So Cadillac is changing their naming convention again.
Sure.
But actually they're making it simpler.
Yay.
Because remember a few years ago they started putting numbers on the back of the vehicles that represented a rounded off version of the torque in Newton meters.
Yeah, because Americans love Newton meters.
Yeah, well, there were no units on it anyway. It was just a number. It's like on the Escalade IQ, it was 1,000 E. What the hell does that mean?
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Who knows?
But they're dropping the numbers, so that's all.
Yay, good. That doesn't make why rear wheel optic 450E. What? I don't understand what's going on. 355 just enough. And only engineers love Newton meters. I have to put Newton meters on all my SAE articles.
Because engineers, exactly.
Because engineers, yo.
So the Federal Trade Commission, which I find this really unusual given some of the other things that the current administration in Washington has done over the past year. But the FTC has sent out letters to 96 auto dealership groups about advertised prices. That they have to, when they advertise prices for vehicles, they have to actually advertise what does this actually cost for someone, including all the fees and everything except taxes, basically.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Because some of the stuff, they will advertise the price of a car with various rebates that are only for certain groups. Like there might be something that is only for retired teachers or only for the military or, whoever it might be. And they'll advertise that price. And then in real fine print somewhere, it'll say, only if you happen to fit in this particular group.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Only if you've saved children from a fire, you can get this.
If you save children from a fire.
So hopefully that will not get thrown by the wayside, and hopefully they will actually force dealers to actually spend the money to, it's not even like they actually have to spend money, but just to force them to actually advertise real prices. And the reason I find this strange is because prior to the election, the FTC had also put out a thing for airlines that they had to advertise the price, including all of the various fees for your airline tickets. And the airlines pushed back against that. And once the new administration came in and said, oh, no, you don't need to do that. That's adding too much cost. No, not really, but
same cost. We just now we know what the cost. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Sigh.
And let's see. And then finally, one more. The Volvo or Volkswagen has apparently been doing component locking on components. So I don't know if you've ever seen. This is something that Apple started doing some years ago for the components on their phones and tablets and stuff, where when they build it, the serial numbers for all the major components like the chip and the battery and screen and various other components, that was all basically burned in a chip in the device. And if you went to replace a component, like if you tried to do it at a third party and they got a part, they had another phone that was broken and just wanted to take the battery out of it or the screen off of it and put it on your phone, you couldn't do that because the components were locked together. You had to have a special tool from the manufacturer. And this is apparently Volkswagen's been doing this.
Really? That
cool.
stinks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very bad. Bad Volkswagen. You should not be doing this.
Yeah. Right to repair.
Yep.
I shouldn't have to fight with, I should be able to fix the things that I pay for.
Exactly.
I bought a thing, I should be able to fix it, within reason. Obviously, I'm not going to try to swap the battery on my own, but if I know a shop that can do it, I shouldn't have to pay some sort of weird ransom to Volkswagen for them to unlock something so that I can stick a new battery pack on or change the steering wheel or.
Yeah, so
like
some of these things, they call it component protection, requires a $300 to $500 fee for salvage part installation, even if you do the work yourself. So you still have, even if you go and find a wrecked car, take the part off, put it on your car, you still have to take it to a dealer and pay this fee for them to unlock the part.
See?
That stinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in the 90s and in the 80s, old timers would come to, I'd be working on my car and they're like, it's like you can't even work on cars nowadays because they had a little ECU that was essentially just took care of your ignition timing and your fuel mixture. And you can't even work on cars anymore. I'm like, you see me, I'm working on my car right now. And as years go on, people are like, you can't, they've been saying this since the 70s, ever since, fuel injection, essentially. You can't even work on your cars anymore. And now the automakers are like, you know what? Maybe you can't. Maybe we should make it so you can't work on your car
We will
anymore.
not
Well, this is
permit it.
basically what John Deere tried to do
Oh, yeah.
with their tractors.
You couldn't do anything with your John Deere
really?
tractor. Everything was locked. Yeah, it was a big, the right to repair. And what was it? The farmers were trying to figure out hacks in order to do it. And if they got caught, they get black. It was a huge mess. And they finally were like, okay, fine, you can fix your tractors. It's like,
Go ahead, fix your own stinking tractor.
yeah, I think they thought that no one would notice. It's all like, well, it's just the farmers. No one's going to listen to what the farmers have to say.
All right. Well, I think that's enough for today. I've also got 3 interviews that I'm going to drop in here. We got Kurt Kahl, who Nicole talked to. He's the chief designer on the Telluride. Actually, if you've gotten to this point in the show, you will have already heard this because I'm actually going to stick that in after the section on the Telluride.
Bam.
And then there's also a conversation with Zach Walker, who was the chief engineer on the Lucid Cosmos. And I'll put that after the Lucid section. And then at the end here, I will put a roundtable session that we did with Marc Winterhoff, the interim CEO.
There we go.
And with that, we will talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Good. No, go ahead. Who wants to start?
Well, what excites you most about the midsize platform, and particularly the Cosmos that we saw today?
Well, first of all, I think that I can't wait to get this car to the market because I really think it will be a big success. Thank you. And as we try to hopefully outline today is, I think we achieve what we wanted to do. Keep the same DNA, the ethos of it's going to be an awesome driving machine. It will be very efficient, very high range. Space inside is again much bigger than it actually should be for the size of the vehicle. And performance will be again very, very fun. And on top of it, it also sets us up a design language in my opinion, more sporty direction versus what we had. So I'm pretty certain, based on it, I love it. On top of that, what we heard from customers, it's going to be very successful. That we've been able to do that is the cost position of which is good. That's really
That's been one of the biggest challenges for Lucid up to this point, is you get wonderful cars, but building them has been harder than it should be. And it looks like you've really tried to address that.
I mean, we learned, to be honest, Lucid set out in the beginning to build the race cars. At that time, complexity and it's a cost involved, but maybe not that high on the yet. But obviously, in need to evolve, we need to focus on cost and also then complexity. And when we then worked on the mid-size program, that's why we started with a completely blank sheet, rather than thinking about, hey, let's take over some of the technology that we have in Aire and Gravity into the mid-size, because it would not been able to get down to that cost with that type of technology that we have.
So midsize will be at a different price point, of course, than Gravity and then Aire. Is there anything that you think that you might have to do and going to market and talking to a little bit a different consumer at a different sort of household outcome level? Are you still talking to the same person, and what sort of changes do you think you'll need to make in that environment?
Well, I guess we did a lot of research. I mean, Derek showed some of that today. It's different consumer groups that we're talking about. And well, we will have to change what we're telling consumers. We'll have to adjust probably some of our marketing approaches. Although we have already that probably have noticed that we're not talking that much anymore only about range and length and all that, but have much more people in our advertising, we're talking about it. And I think that path will continue with the midsize. I actually don't expect drastic changes in that direction.
Right.
But yes, we definitely know that it's not the same customer that we are talking about.
Can you talk a little bit about your battery strategy? Because we're seeing this big pivot happen in the US, like Ford and GM are doing lithium manganese, or Tesla in some markets uses LFP. So do you plan to know LFP or any novel chemistry?
We do. So there is for the mid-size, there will be versions with MC, but there will also be versions with
For the mid-size.
So
With LMC and what did you say? What was it? You said LMC or NMC and LFP. Thank you.
So motor efficiency is one of the biggest stories at Lucid, and of course that there's so many benefits to that. Is there concern about competitors catching up, and what can Lucid do to maintain that edge and advantage in efficiency?
it's actually not only about motor efficiency. Motor efficiency is only one part. The overall efficiency that we achieve goes much further. And much talked about it today. It has to do with, getting vehicles with the space inside that you have right now with a smaller footprint. Because then you can make the vehicles lighter. Yeah? It's another element, for instance. Aerodynamics is a humongous and simply better management cooling actually has an impact. So he talked about, the system approach versus the, just component approach, because that's exactly the point. If you would only optimize the drive unit, and you probably know that the drive units are already pretty efficient, and you get a few percent output, but you have to optimize the whole system. And I think that's what we are really good at. And many of our competitors, not. Simple as that. We have other competitors that are now trying to, I would say, first of all, sing the same song that we are telling about efficiency. I don't blame anybody. You probably find it when you use ChatGPT or you already know. And others bring vehicles to market that are much smaller, have the same efficiency like our Lucid.
Actually lower efficiency than the Lucid.
So I guess it is all about the edge that we have is actually the system approach, and the knowledge that we have built over the years to get this really done. Because it's not easy to just go.
Okay, thank you. So the other thing is apps meaningfully for the powertrain. Well, we've kind of shown that even after being on the market and essentially being out there for about 5 years, still nobody has actually gotten the same on it. That's true 5 years ago. So maybe we've earned some ability to say, to think we can preserve that.
I think you mentioned many times that you don't want to China competition and stuff, but now with various agreements, for instance, with Canada, China and Chinese EVs will be there, and I think they're a big push to Europe. I think you are going to be facing some level of competition. Do you think that leaves it?
Well, I think absolutely yes, and because we also, that's why I said we're not going to China. Wow. What's going on there makes no sense. Nobody is able to make money, and also on top of that, Western OEMs are just systematically squeezed out. Maybe to some extent intentionally. On the other hand, maybe simply because local OEMs come and milch, have offerings. And by the way, I already said that 6 years ago that this is going to happen. Finally, it's been right that once they get to a maturity status, Chinese are actually a whole drought country. It was pretty clear that at some point they would choose their own products over others. But on top of that, prices that people command there. I mean, I showed you the BOM costs, and they not mention Chinese SUV everybody's talking about. These are the real costs for production in China. It's not actually not data from us. It's data that we get actually from several sources. So what we have there are the actual BOM costs. Then they're actually selling this car for the price of the material. Which is the last time I checked, isn't it? And so when they come into Europe, Canada, I haven't actually checked. They come into Europe, you have a completely different price level. It's still a traffic, but it's not Chinese yet. Yeah. When I look at what's happened in the past couple of years in Europe, Chinese went in there with big rah-rah. Neo went in there, BYD, last World Cup, I believe, was mastered all over the place. They spent, I don't know how many millions. They're only successful in certain pockets, certain countries, and also more on the low end in the mass market. We're not planning to be in the mass market. We're planning to still be in the premium segment. And when you look at players like Neo, for instance, they're selling it in. Yeah. So long story short, I think that our product is absolutely competitive, and I also think that much of what talk about China is always more the price point. That's not why I want to go. And therefore, I think we definitely have a shot. Derek, I mean, you probably saw that earlier. What we think is the combination between perfecting traditional attributes, performance, ride quality, and driving dynamics, plus offering what the Chinese do well, which is more of a digital element, gives us in the markets like Europe that are actually more used to traditional vehicles leg up. Because quite frankly, Chinese cars don't drive. Might have changed. The last time I checked, even the ones that have fantastic suspensions in them, they actually don't ride. They actually drive. Probably because they don't have to, because the average speed is, what is it, 15 kilometers. So they're focusing very much on the digital experience. They have a leg up. I think with what we're doing right now, we will actually get to the same. It was a long answer, I got. I'm getting tired. So.
Could you talk a little bit about the difference between Cosmos and Earth, and like, do they serve the same buyer? Obviously, they have the same platform, but
nope.
What sort of appeal is different about that?
Don't talk about it the whole time. So, other than what I've shown, that they actually go into different segments, they have to come back. Because we don't want to see a Honda on us. But yeah, it's going to look material different at 95%.
We just one more question. Marc.
So we said earlier Saudi Arabia production first, and then Arizona. Can you speak to how long that gap you think it's going to be? So are we looking at 6 months, or are we looking at a year? It doesn't make sense to put them both in the same plant at the same time. That would not work.
By the way, at the beginning we planned, and we said, guys, you know that the same people have to do that, right? That's fair. So it's minimum 6 months, probably longer. Probably another.
So North America won't get it till later then?
No, we're not doing it. But what we're actually doing is another investment in the North American market. We actually, first vehicles that we're producing are North American vehicles. We're doing them back here. This is our lead market. I know that our partners in Kia will complain about that. But it's our lead market. And despite, obviously, right now, from a tariff perspective, it doesn't make any sense. But, you need to show the vehicle here, you need to have habits improvement. We say we're planning to do it.
Once you have production going in Arizona, then will the vehicles from Saudi Arabia go to primarily to other markets, to Europe and the Middle East and so on?
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Just to summarize, production starts in Saudi before the end of the year. Cars on sale some point early in 2027. In the U.S., possibly among other markets, because North America is a market for you. And then 6 months to a year, production will start in North America for North American cars?
Correct.
Oh.
Correct. We don't need ChatGPT anymore.
Get John. Get John GPT.
John GPT.
I do hallucinate, however.
Yeah, I mean, one comment on that.
Yes.
What we will definitely do is, and with Gravity, we learned one thing. The car, or actually every supplier that was ready. Up? Yeah. And what happened was that we weren't able to ramp up because of how severe. Wish I could make it.
Now you feel very strongly about that.
It's fine. Anyway, so
I presume they have not been sourced for the Cosmos?
No. So we will only ramp up when we know we have everything able in quality where they have to. Because simply it's I mean, you probably heard about production hell of Tesla.
Yeah.
Because what happens is if you do that at scale, then you have all the inventory, each costs billions. You're not producing those. You're not finishing them. Can't sell them. Basically, your capital gets burned away, like in a wildfire. So we will be very, very focused on getting everything ready. We only ramp up once we know now everything is over. And, yeah, so
Now those cars
it sounds like
couldn't sell. The longer they sit, the more difficult it must be.
You've made fundamental organizational changes in how you manufacture, and also for this vehicle, changed the design to help facilitate those organizational changes.
Yeah, the organizational changes, but also the design is actually half or more of the trick.
Yeah.
Because you can optimize a line, maybe you can automate also, but if it's very difficult and complex, it has a head of parts, it's still very, because then the supply chain is also very difficult. So if you have a luxury car, let's say 3,000 parts, one part is missing. They're not building a car. So now you have 2,999 parts sitting around, eating up your working capital.
Yeah. So what is the supply chain in Saudi, given that they don't have an auto industry, there's not a lot in the region?
Right. It will be, by the way, there will be 7 suppliers are already localizing. They're building facilities right next to our facility. But that's not everything. You will have to import a lot.
Okay.
And but I mean, what I personally mean is more, we need to check that they are really able to run. We still have a logistic topic to solve. Honestly, all the supply chains have that logistic problem that you have to
these days.
things on ships, measure exactly when they arrive and all that. So that's not over time. In Saudi, the supply chain will be more and more reduced. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
It's unrelated to production, but I know a lot of CEOs have addressed short sellers in the past. Palace Car called them fanatics, and Tesla in the past. Do you ever, I think the short interest on Lucid is 34-35%. Is there anything you ever intend on addressing?
Well, if you tell me how we can squeeze them, Because, I mean, it's obviously a discussion that we have all the time.
Tell me about it.
No, I mean, that's one of our biggest problems that we have is with our stuff.
Next, if you.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Aire Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.